Today's video is brought to you by StoryboardThat.com. Please visit teachercast.net/storyboardthat for a limited time offer. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tech Educator Podcast. This is episode number 86. Today, we're talking all about Microsoft 365 as part of our Microsoft March. I hope you've been enjoying it. My name is Jeff Bradbury, and I'm going to be your host today. We have some great people on our show today. There's, of course, some great things that have been happening over at teachercast.net. Want to bring up our website here. Last week was Digital Learning Day, and to celebrate Digital Learning Day, we had the Alliance for Excellence in Education come on, and we had Terry come on, and she was talking all about the great stuff happening over at Digital Learning Day and over at the Alliance for Excellent Education. Check out our latest 3 posts here. Waka was even having a chance to talk to Terry all about Digital Learning Day. We have some great stuff for you there. Over on our brand new podcast, the Educational Podcasting Today Show, we happen to put out a great episode on Audacity to answer the question, can you podcast in a Windows environment? Can you podcast using something other than GarageBand? So if you're out there looking to learn how to use podcasts, certainly check it out, educationalpodcasting.today. And of course, all of our shows on the Tech Educator Podcast are archived over on our website at techeducatorpodcast.com. Sam, how are you doing today? How are things over in California?
Things in California are beautiful. Spring has sprung, and the entire world is covered in a light green layer of pollen dust.
Pollen dust is always great. We actually still have snow on the ground here. Today we're going to be talking all about Office 365. Are you familiar with the Office suite of tools?
I am. I was brought up on Office.
There's a lot of great stuff here, and, there's been so many things going forward. Waka actually started off the show today by saying that they went from Office 8 to Office 365. Were you able to check out all of those different versions?
I'm afraid Waka may not have done the fact-checking he should have before embarking on his introduction. Did you give him permission to do the introduction?
Well, I wrote him the script. Does that count?
So that was your bit about the Office 8 to Office 365?
He did it all his own. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking all about... Yeah, exactly. We're going to be talking all about Office 365. We have a fantastic guest as part of our Microsoft March from Microsoft. Frank, how are you today? Welcome to the Tech Educator Podcast.
Doing great, Seth. Jeff, thank you for inviting me. Excited to be here. Excited to show you Office 365 today.
Talk to us a little bit about Office 365. It has gone through a lot of changes. I mean, I remember growing up in high school, and we had Office, and it had Word and PowerPoint and Excel, and there was like 9 different versions that you can buy, and it came on floppy disks. Do you still do floppy disks?
I think floppy disks are probably gone by now, and in fact, disks of all kinds are going away. Now you just download the bits and put them on the machines you want. So, but yeah, you're right, and Sam is right that Office 365 starts with that, right? It starts with the very essence of Office, the very Office that you grew up with, and Word, PowerPoint, Excel. OneNote, things like that. But we've added things to it, mostly the back-end services that really connect those pieces together and allow you to collaborate and communicate and share information and share ideas with your teachers and your classmates and your entire school using new technology that didn't exist back in the Office 8 days or Office 3 days or back whenever you were using Office for the first time. So we're really excited to provide Office as a service and then continually to add to that and develop new ideas and ways of sharing information and ideas and just adding on to all the value that is Office as you know it.
Well, let's take a look at that value. Most people right now, when they want to create something, they're thinking of Microsoft Word, probably one of the most powerful word processors out there. I don't know a single school that isn't using Word docs somewhere. Talk to us a little bit about the history here. How have you seen Word evolve over the last little bit?
Well, I'll tell you what, in my previous life, I was a journalist and actually started writing on a typewriter and scripts on a typewriter, and then graduated to a word processor, and then eventually to Word. So I have seen Word from outside Microsoft, and then now within Microsoft since its very beginning. And really, when you think about the way people work and communicate today, back when Word first started, it was really probably an individual exercise where you sat down in front of your desktop and you started writing and thinking about what you wanted to put down on that blank canvas. And think about where we are today, though. Think about using Word today in a way where you're not working alone, you're working collaboratively, because we know that when people work together best, or when people work best, they work together with other people and collaboratively. So imagine being able to work on a document, share ideas, collaborate in real time, and not only that, but then access that document from wherever you happen to be. We have so many devices these days. We have a PC on our desktop, we have a Mac on the go, we have a laptop, we may have a tablet, we always have our phones in our hands, right? So imagine being able to get to that Word document anywhere you happen to be, on any device you happen to be on, be able to make changes on the fly, to be able to work and communicate and collaborate with others all at the same time. And that's where we are, not just with Word, but with PowerPoint and Excel. It's all about sharing information as easily and broadly as you can. And because we live in this day and age where information flies in from all over the place at an unbelievable rate, we need to have ways to then filter out the noise a little bit and get to the essence of what we want to do. And whether that's a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet or a PowerPoint, how do we get to the nut of the information and get the information we need it? And really, that's what Office is all about today.
I think that's a brilliant way of putting it. Talking about the collaboration, talking about getting those things. I mean, of course, we still remember having to save something as a Word doc, open it up in another program. But right now, Office is this monster that you can use seamless transfer of data. I remember going into a store and purchasing either Office Standard, Office Professional, Office Advanced, I think it was called, or something. Talk to us a little bit about Office for Education.
So you could probably still go into the store and find many, many flavors of Office. You can find Office 365 and other things. But what we offer for education, though, is called Office 365 Education. And it is really a suite of services and experiences that are free for all educational institutions around the globe. And really what it is it's around document and content storage and sharing, but it's also about real-time interactions through IM and video chat, HD video, things like that. It's about sharing sites and sharing resources on those sites. And so really, when you look across at what we offer with Office 365 Education, it's a whole suite of solutions and productivity tools that allow students and teachers to communicate and collaborate much easier than if they were working in silos across just the Office applications.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how a school actually goes around and signs up for this? Let's say a school wants to go Office 365. How do they do that?
So if a school IT wanted to sign up their entire institution, all they have to do is go to office.com/education, and they'll land on a web page that has some information about what exactly Office 365 is and all the different tools that we offer. And then there's just some high-level stuff about what it is and how schools can work together. But then if you click on the green button there in the middle, you'll be able to get into the different plans that we offer for education institutions. And the plan on the left there is our free Office 365 education offer. And it has all kinds of features and tools built in that any school can sign up for. And in order to sign up, you just click on Get Started Today on the button above this table, and you'll be able to start with a free trial for 30 days, and you'll be given 25 licenses for teachers and 25 licenses for students, and you can try it out for those 30 days. And at any time within those 30 days, you can validate that you are, in fact, an educational institution with a domain name or something like that. Then we'll allow you to order more licenses for your entire campus, and you can then roll out Office 365 for your entire institution. So it's a great way, an easy way to get started and trial it first with just a few of your users and see if it's the right fit for you, and then roll it out to the rest of your institution.
Now, when we sign up for something like that, what does come with Office 365? We've, of course, here been celebrating Microsoft March, and we've had the Office One Mix team. We had Sway on last week. What actually does come with Office 365?
So for any institution that signs up, I'll start with it like this. I'll say it includes email, calendar, and contacts, and we provide that through Exchange Online, which many IT guys would know very well. So, but in addition to email, we also provide instant messaging, video chat, desktop sharing, things like that through Link. And Link is going to become, as you know, Skype. So we'll provide that type of functionality through Link, but we also provide SharePoint Online. And what SharePoint Online allows a school to do is provide OneDrive for all of their students and teachers, and that includes a terabyte of storage for every student and every teacher. And it's a terabyte of storage today, but it's going to expand to unlimited storage for teachers and students. So you'll have your OneDrive, and you'll also have the ability to create sites like class sites and team sites and group sites to share information and resources within SharePoint Online. And then in addition to all of that, it also includes Office Online so that you can use Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and OneNote within the browser, so through Word Online and SharePoint Online. And then if you also happen to have Office, the rich clients, that just fits nicely right into Office 365, and then you can use Office, Word, PowerPoint, and Excel, and OneNote complete full applications linked to your Office 365 account.
Now, when you're saying email, is that what used to be called Hotmail, or is there another email that Microsoft is using for schools?
No, this is our actually enterprise-grade email built on Exchange, and so this is the email that a majority of businesses are using worldwide. It's not a consumer email. It's a very enterprise-level email. For institutions, this is really important because it allows the institution to take the duty of care that they need and provide far greater than they can do on a consumer email, like what Hotmail used to be and what's now called Outlook. So what this allows a school to do is apply policy to an email. It allows you to do things like digital rights management or data loss prevention, and I'll show you some of that when I demo the service. It allows you to do transport rules so that if you have to provide a intermediary between, say there's a case of bullying in your school, and through email you can reroute that mail to go through a teacher or something to see before it actually gets passed on to another student. So things like that you can do in Exchange at the enterprise level is what we offer free for institutions.
Two quick questions for you here, Frank, before we get into the demonstrations. The first one is, talk to the tech directors that are out there. How does Office 365 work at an admin level as far as permissions and turning things on, and can you set it up so that way everybody has access to these modules but not this particular module? How does it work on an admin level?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thanks for asking. We have what we call an admin console within Office 365, and we also have several levels of administrator that you can be. You could be the global administrator, so you can have access to everything, and you can create users, and you can assign licenses, and I'll get a little bit into that. Or you can have an administrator that can only reset passwords. So if you wanted to set up a help desk, for example, you have a variety of roles that you can have within the administrator level. So when you have your admin console, that's where you can monitor things like, first of all, the health of the service to make sure that everything is turned on and running smoothly, so you can check that. That's where you can create users and invite users into the service for your entire institution, and that's where you can assign different licenses, or what you call modules. So if I want a subset of my teachers and students to be able to use email and not have access to OneDrive, all I have to do is give them a license for email only and not OneDrive. Or if I have a subset of teachers that need extra services, I could provide those by giving them certain subsets of licenses. And so it's all managed within this console. I can manage it from anywhere. I don't have to be at my office or on my desktop. I could just log into Office 365 and get my admin console no matter where I happen to be, even on my phone, as a matter of fact. And so you manage your users, you manage the services you provide to those users, you manage the health of the service, all within this admin console that you can access from any device.
So, Frank, I have to ask you here the question that's on everybody's mind. Why would a school district choose Microsoft over Google?
Well, I think, again, another great question, and I think it all starts with the way this conversation started at the very beginning when you guys talked about using Office and having Office from when you were younger and using Office in your place of work and just being familiar with Office. And Office 365 starts with that. It's a very familiar Office that millions of people around the world use every day. It's the gold standard within businesses and industries today. It's what students will be using in the future when they graduate from school and they go to their first jobs. They'll be using Office. And in fact, we recently did a survey through a third party called IDC that showed that Office is one of the top 3 skill sets most sought after by employers when they're looking for potential employees. So just the fact that it starts with Office, and then on the back end you have the great backbone that is Exchange, and that really rich enterprise level email. Those are just 2 examples. And then as I go through my demos, you'll see there's many different services and sets of services and experiences that we're really excited about at Microsoft to share with you. Number 1, enterprise social within Office 365. We have this new experience called Delve that I'm really excited to show you. Power BI that will let you gain insights and view data in a way you've never seen before. And then from the duty of care side, things like data loss prevention, where you can protect sensitive information from leaking out of your organization by even careless mistakes like sending an email with an attachment with grades on it. Exchange is smart enough to say, hey, this is going outside your organization. Are you sure you want to hit send on that? So things like that are what we feel really make Office 365 stand out.
So we're here live on teachercast.tv. We are, of course, broadcasting every single Sunday night. We want to have your questions. If you are here in our chat box, please feel free to ask questions. And if you're listening to this on the recording, we have Microsoft all month of March. We do have one question here. I know you want to get into your screen share. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to do your screen share here, Frank. But while you're flipping that over, one of the questions that came from the chat, whatever happened to Clippy?
Whatever happened? Clippy came and left before my time here at Microsoft. I wonder the same thing. I have not seen Clippy since I arrived at Microsoft.
I think we should start a hashtag bring back Clippy.
Well, Frank, when you start working someplace and you don't know what happened to the people that worked there before, especially when they were so visible, I'm just. You
want to know something funny? We had a fantasy football league this year, and I think that was the league name was Where's Clippy?
Nice. That reminds me, Sam. Have you heard from John Samuelson? Never mind. Anyway, what Chris? Are there any questions that you have or that you're seeing in the chat?
Actually, right. I'm just looking forward to the demonstration at this point because I know that there's a lot to offer. I've already myself taken advantage of being able to download it using my school email address. So it was a nice way that I was able to get the upgrade and be using the most current version of Office, in addition to the other tools that I use. So I'm looking forward to see what more I can do with 365.
I have to ask you while you're here, Chris, were you able this week to try Sway any more? I know we were playing with it last week on the show. What were your thoughts on Sway last week?
I did enjoy Sway. Honestly, though, with other responsibilities, I didn't have a chance to play with it past messing around with it on Sunday during the show. But it is on my to-do list of things to hopefully play with this week while I'm in school.
Park and Sway, Chris. All right, let's bring up our demonstration here. Frank, can you slide your screen just to the left a little bit? Your whole window,
left.
or you can open your windows. Keep going.
This way?
Yep. Perfect.
I think his wallpaper looks good too.
Am I there?
You are there. All right. Take it away.
So let me just do this because I actually have two windows open. I'm going to slide this one too. Oops. And then, okay, well, I don't want to stall this down, so I'll do that one later.
That's okay.
Get there. Okay. So what I'm showing you here, and can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what I'm showing you here is actually the landing page of Office 365, and for this demonstration, I'm going to assume the role of Veronica Queck, who is a social studies history middle school teacher. And so she starts her day by logging into Office 365, and this is where she lands. Now, I told you, and we started this conversation about Office and all the great things you could do with all the rich applications that you're familiar with. Well, one of the great things about Office 365 when you use it with the full Office applications is that you can install Office 365 on up to 5 devices. So again, if you think back to the way Office used to be tied to a single device, and you had to use that one device whenever you were wanted to use Word, PowerPoint, or Excel. But those days are long gone, and now what you can do with Office 365 is install Office on up to 5 devices, and that includes a Mac or a PC or a laptop. And this, when you land here within Office 365, it's actually smart enough to know that I'm using a PC today, so it shows me install Office on your PC. And if I happen to be using a Mac, which, by the way, the new Mac preview just came out about 10 days ago, and you can try that out for free. Just go to office.com and look for the Mac preview, and you'll be able to install Office Mac Preview on your Mac. So if I were using a Mac, you would see install Office on your Mac instead of PC. But then I can also install it on my desktop. I can install it on my desktop at work and use my username, which in this case is Veronica, to log into Office on any of my devices. And so that's how your documents and all of your content goes with you from device to device, is through your username that you get with Office 365. So, but in addition to Office, you could also have all these other great services that you get with Office 365, and we talked about them already. Things like email and enterprise social networking with Yammer and OneDrive and sites, team sites. I mentioned Power BI, which allows you to view data in a new way. I mentioned Delve, which allows you that brings all the content and people that are important to you that you work with on a daily basis right to your fingertips. And I'm going to show you a little bit of that later on in the podcast as well. But I want to start with the way that most of us start, and that is by checking out your email. So I'm going to click on email, and it's going to take me to Outlook right inside the browser. So this is Veronica's email. And she can quickly, by just clicking on an email, get the preview over here on the right-hand side. The other thing that she could do right within this email interface is just quickly triage her email. So you see when I mouse over, it either gives me a trash can or a flag. So I can mouse over something that I don't need to keep cluttering up my inbox, and I could just delete that. And I can delete that, hit the trash can there. But then I can also do other things too, really super quick. I could take one and I can flag that for a little bit later on. So now as I scroll through my email for the day, I see that my principal has emailed me, and I see that it also has an exclamation mark there that says, hey, this is really important, take a look at this. And so I'm going to click on that, and I see that it's an email around a disciplinary action that has been taken with a student of mine. So it's a very sensitive topic, so I want to make sure that I handle this with the right duty of care. So I want to respond to Alicia and let her know that I'll be at the meeting, and I do have some stuff for her to look at. So I'm going to tell her, here's my recent summary on disciplinary actions, right? So I'm going to attach a file to this. I'm going to insert here. I'm going to insert an attachment from my OneDrive. And so it automatically calls up my OneDrive. And here is that document that I talked about. So I'm going to click on that and then just click Next. And so now what this does is now it's offering me to either send this as a share it through OneDrive, which allows my principal to view the document and any changes I make in the future, and also edit the document if I want to give her that permissions, or I can send it as an attachment, and this way she would just have a static copy of that Word document. Well, I actually want to send it to her via OneDrive so that she always has an up-to-date copy of what I'm working on. Now look at this. Now it doesn't send a link. I didn't have to go into OneDrive and get a link. It just automatically put a copy of Word that's attached to my OneDrive right there within the body of the email. Now I also see that my recipients can edit. Well, I really don't want anybody editing this document because this is a sensitive document that I want to track all the actions that I've taken inside my classroom. So I'm only going to give viewing permissions for whoever I send this to. Now, I want to take one additional step just to really make sure that, that this information is protected since it's a very sensitive subject. And I'm going to go over here to the ellipsis, and I'm going to set permissions on this email. And the permissions is I don't want anyone to forward this email because I want this to stay between me and the principal, right? So there. Now I've set permissions at 2 levels within this email. I haven't even left my inbox. I attached a document to this email. I set permissions on that document so that only my principal can see it and view it. She can't even edit it. And then I set permissions on this email that says nobody can forward this email, so I know that this exchange between myself and the principal is going to stay right there within those 2. And then I hit send. And now I'm done. And I've answered that question for my principal, and I can move on. Now, as I scroll down my inbox some even more, I see that my colleague Sven has sent me an email with a document in it that says, hey, I want you to review this document. Sven and I are going to this conference next week all around assessment and at the district level. And we're working on this presentation together. So I want to make sure that I review this document that Sven wants me to review. And so all I need to do then is click on the flag, and I'm actually going to right-click on it. Apologize for that. I'm actually going to right-click on the flag, and I'm going to set this flag for this week. So now I have a flag for follow-up that tells me start by Tuesday. And if I go into my app launcher within Office 365, and I open up my my task pane, so I'm going to click on tasks. You see a list of tasks that I have set up for myself, and right here at the very bottom is the email that I just reviewed in my inbox from Sven with a flag that tells me, hey, you've got to start this by Tuesday and finish it by Friday. And not only that, but right within my tasks pane, I don't have to go search for that email, and I don't have to go search for that PowerPoint presentation because it's all right here within my task list now. And it's on my calendar, and I know that it's all right there. So even without leaving my inbox, I've gave myself some work to do. I've put it on my calendar, and I've set myself some reminders and a timeline for when I want to get this work done. And I don't have to search my inbox for context because it's all right here. So that's a quick look at your inbox. Now I want to take you back over. You got a little sneak peek of OneDrive. So I want to show you OneDrive and all the things you can do within OneDrive. and I'll come back to my report that I'm going to do around the conference next week for assessments. So this is Veronica's OneDrive, and this is where she stores and shares all the information that she works with on a daily basis. And it's laid out in the traditional folder style that you find familiar, but it also has individual documents and stuff. And as I quickly look around here, what I can do on here is I take a look at this balanced assessment that Sven is sharing with me. And if I click on this, I get a little preview of that document right within inside this window. In fact, I can actually go and actually scroll through right here within this window of what's inside that PowerPoint presentation. From here, I can also share it out very easily, just like I did from that email. But I can share and set permissions right from within this interface, where I can invite people via email with a link to come and edit this document, or if I want to see it, I could just set it to view. So I have the capability to share and store documents, and I can see who I'm sharing with, or if I'm only keeping that document to myself that's stored in OneDrive. The other thing that I can do with OneDrive is sync this file to my local storage so that I can always have access to my documents whether I'm connected to the internet or not. And so if I just click on this sync button, what this will do is this will download a copy of all those documents into my library, and it'll put it inside this OneDrive for Business folder, so that even when I'm off and I'm offline, I can still access my documents. The other thing I can do right away is very simple. I can either create a new document right from within here, and I can either create a Word document with Word Online or Excel or PowerPoint or OneNote. The other thing I could do is really simply and easily open up my folder, find a file that I want to add, and then just drag it right into my OneDrive. And so instantly that PowerPoint went from my desktop into local storage only right into OneDrive, making it super easy for me to access that document and share it out with others very simply, like you do with all those other things. So now I want to get back to work, and I want to start thinking about this conference that I'm going to be going to with Sven at the end of the week. And I want to do some analysis on grades within the district. So let me just go for a second. Now, Sven was telling me about this. Sven was telling me about this district assessment report that is on a website inside Office 365. Now, I already told you that Office 365 can also do sites, and this is an example of that. This is actually a public-facing website within Office 365 for this middle school. But it's also used for intranet sites, not just public-facing sites. So there are other sites within here that only folks inside the school can get. So I know somewhere within SharePoint online there is a district assessment report. So I'm going to try to find that district assessment report. And so I'm just going to do a search across Office 365 and SharePoint Online and try to find this district assessment. So what you'll see comes up is a whole list of string of results that show what district assessments are, right? And so as I mouse over each of the results, I see that there's something on a web page. There's another. This here is actually a Yammer conversation that happened. It searched Yammer and found this conversation around assessment, and so it offered me this. But right here at the very beginning is this district results. This is actually what I'm looking for. This is the report that Sven had told me about, and this is the one I want to use to develop some analysis on district assessment and actionable items that we can do as a school. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up and edit this in Excel. So it's going to take just a minute to open up in Excel. So this is a great set of data that I have here. And I'm going to open it up right inside this window to make sure that you guys can see it. So this is actually just sort of this long list of data from different middle schools and assessment results, and it's good, but it's just a long string of data. So really what I want to do is I want to start formulating this this data into something more manageable that I can actually work with. So I'm actually going to create two more columns here. I'm going to create a column called month, and then I'm going to create a column for the year, because you notice this one column with the rating period, it has both the month and the year together, but there's not much I can do with that in terms of slicing the information. So I'm going to create the column called month, and then I'm going to just start typing the month in there, right? So I'm going to type in April, and then I'm going to go down, and as soon as I type December, with a feature called Flash Fill, Excel is smart enough to know what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to separate the months from column C and put them in column D. So Excel knows that, and it makes some suggestions, and then I say, yeah, okay, I like that, so there you go. So now with just filling out a couple of fields, I've now filled out all of the fields down below. But I want to go even further, excuse me, I want to do the year too. This is a little bit trickier, but it's just as easy. So because the years are a little bit too similar, Excel doesn't recognize what I want to do. But after I fill out just a couple of fields, I can come over here and over in, let me see, where can I find it? Oh, sorry, it's under data. Under data, I can do flash fill, and then it automatically fills in, finishes the job that I had already done. So now I've created two new columns with this type of information. And so now what can I do with this? Well, this is where I can take this information that's now more manageable, and I can say, okay, let's create a pivot chart, and let's do so, create a pivot chart and a pivot table. Now right away, Excel is recommending that I use the entire columns, all the columns for the table range, and I think I say that's right, and I want to create a new worksheet. So I just click OK, and now it creates a new worksheet where I can actually start manipulating the data in this Power Pivot in a more meaningful way than I could just as it existed inside this sheet 1, right? So now I'm going to take assessment results, and I'm going to use that as a value, and I'm going to put that into the value field down below. Now, I don't want the sum of results. I actually want to do what the average results was over across the districts. So I just changed that to average, and now I've got the average results. It's still not meaningful information. But what if I took month now, and I dragged that down, and I created month as a category? So now what I've got is month by month average scores across all the districts in the school, right? But I could do even more. I know that I have more information at my fingertips that will give me even greater insights as to what's happening at my particular district. And so I could continue to manipulate this data by using slicers. So here I want to insert a slicer, and I want to actually go by school. So I add the school slicer, and now I can bring that down here. And now what I can do is if I click on these different schools, I'm going to look at middle school 1, and you'll see that not only does the table change, but the chart changes as well depending on which school I'm looking at. So there's middle school 2, 3, middle school 3, and there's the average assessment score from middle school 4. Now the data is really starting to take on some value because I can actually visualize what's happening in the schools, and I can do even more. So I can continue to add slicers. So I'm going to add another slicer because I don't have to just do one slicer. I could do several. So I'm going to add another slicer, and this one is going to be around year. So here's another slicer. So when I was talking to Sven about what we wanted to do at the conference, we really wanted to come up with some insights for all of our colleagues at the district level to really act on and take action within their school. So now, if I want to look at middle school 2, and I want to look at the year 2012, I can see exactly what the average score was within that school district, within that school specifically during that year. And I could even make this even more visually appealing by highlighting all the data and then adding some conditional formatting like color scales. So right by adding color scales, I can see that in my school, middle school 2, and in the year in all years, I can see that my students really struggle in the months of January and July and November. So now what can I do in those months to really help them focus, to keep them on track, to keep them engaged with the content that we want to focus on so that they get better scores? And so now, within just a couple of minutes, I've managed to create this report, and I'm going to even go one step further. I'm going to take a look at this chart and try to just really quickly make this even to a slightly better chart. So I have this little paintbrush here, and it gives me the opportunity to do different styles. And notice as I mouse over the different types of charts, it just changes right within inside Excel. And so I like that one. I like the way it looks. I like that it gives the average score in the bar. And then I can just easily change the chart in here and change the title, district assessment, and now I'm done. And so I've over just a couple of minutes created this really insightful analysis on district assessments. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into File, and I'm going to share this, and I'm going to invite people to use this, and I'm going to invite my good friend Sven, who I'm working on. Now notice it gives me a list of names that are associated with my directory, and so I see Sven, I want him to edit, and I'm going to share this document with Sven. So now I've taken a step forward in getting ready for my conference next week. I've shared with Sven the document that we want to share with our colleagues at the conference, and I've provided this document that as we share this out, I've made it really super easy for anyone that opens up this document to gather that information and get some insight and analysis from this data that's actionable in a really simple way. And that is the end of my first demo.
Frank, it seems like there's so many good things here. You can definitely see a school district making use of all these tools. And I got to say, the website there looks absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you very much.
We have a couple questions here. People want to know a little bit more about what Yammer is. Could you show us that, or could you tell us a little bit about how that works?
No, I can absolutely show it to you. In fact, that's how I start my second demo. If you want to, I can just jump right into that, or I could talk a little bit about it. But if you want to think about the easy way to that Yammer, it's an enterprise social tool. So think of it, Facebook for your organization. But instead of being a consumery thing out there in the great big wide world, it's actually just confined to your institution. It has controls that you can administer. You can set policy against it. You saw that when I did that search on my district intranet site that I got results coming back from Yammer. So it really takes a social tool, networking tools, and just integrates it into your organization's very online fabric, and with all the tools and policy and things that you need as an organization. So for a school, that's a great opportunity to use Yammer. You can store content, you can share content, you can share comments, all within inside Yammer, and I'm happy to show that to you in just a minute. If you have other questions, I can address other questions, and then we can go back to Yammer.
We have a few questions. Chris, you had a question as Frank is setting up that second screen share. Chris, what was your question?
Frank, with the first demo you did, very sophisticated and some really great tools for the teachers to use. What are some of the benefits you're seeing, and what does it offer in terms of 365? What's the benefit and offer for students? How do you see kids taking advantage of these powerful tools?
Well, for students, it's you can use and I'm not sure if you're talking about it for the email itself or for the documents and for OneDrive themselves, but you can actually use Office 365 and Word, PowerPoint, Excel just as you do today, right within Office 365. We continually to work to make OneDrive easier to use. You saw how simple it was for me to share out documents, to share documents from within Office 365. So we try to make it as simple as possible and as easy as possible for all users to access the service and utilize all the benefits as little or as much as they need to.
Okay.
Nice. All right, what do you got for us now, Frank?
Okay, so we talked about let me come back over to my homepage. Now, there was a question about Yammer. So I want to show you about how Yammer and our new experience called Delve can help you share institutional knowledge or find information that that you need right away. And so so I'm gonna click on Yammer and come into Yammer, and you'll see. Let me log in as Veronica. Okay, just 1 second.
Sure. As you're getting that set up, Sam.
Jeff, I thought you were going to go and play Veronica by Elvis Costello.
No, I don't have that queued up quite yet with everything. You know, Chris, as he's getting that set up, it seems like Office 365 just does provide a very, very powerful set of tools for any classroom to use. I mean, the idea that the students are creating something that's shareable, that they're creating something that is dynamic and is cloud-based. I mean, we've seen other solutions like that, but it does seem like Office 365 does this in a very, very sophisticated manner. And also, I got to say again, I like the way that those websites look a lot better than the other kind of websites that we make for free.
I agree, because there's something to be said for technology that's visually appealing and aesthetically pleasing to look at. And when you talk about things that are cloud-based, that's a pure benefit in and of itself, because, you know, when we come at it from teachers in the classroom, it's important that the tools that our students are using, they can access them, you know, anywhere, and they can do that with Office 365.
So I'll give you an example of if we want to go back to that question around making it easier for everyone. If you look at the home page, this is the landing page. This is the same landing page that students would use, and notice how clean and simple it is. Now, I have a lot of tiles on my page because I have access to a lot of services. But we talked a little bit earlier about the services that an admin can make available to their students. So really, an admin can say, okay, you're only going to get the email and the calendar and Office Online, and then all the other tiles just disappear, right? And so then you would have just 4 or 5 tiles on there. And then when I want to open up a Word Online, I just click on that button and then open up a document, and then I'm using Word Online right inside the browser. And you'll see here when it opens up how super simple it is and easy, and it's just like the Word that you use, and you're actually just editing right inside the browser, right? But you have enough tools in there where you can do all the editing things that you want and make it really simple. So I don't want my demo environment to confuse you that the home landing page is a very simple framework, and it could be made even more simple by having fewer tiles on there. So let's get back to the question about Yammer and how you can collaborate with others and get information from Yammer. So this is the Yammer interface, and it looks a lot like other social networks that you'd find, and you'd see that there's users in here, and they're all commenting and liking replies and sharing information and asking questions, all the things that you would normally find in any kind of social networking. There's also files and videos attached to Yammer as well, and I'll show you an example of that. So in this scenario, let's say Veronica has a new student with some accessibility needs, and it's the first time Veronica, as a young teacher, has ever experienced having a student in her class with this type of needs, and so she's looking for information on how to approach this. And so she can go into Yammer and she can just search accessibility. And once she searches for accessibility, what happens is she comes back with some results. Let me try that again. So let me search for accessibility.
Frank, while you're looking that up, a question about student accounts. Does a student need to have an email address for this whole system to work, or can a school district elect to not give students email permission?
The school does not need to give email permission. The school needs to, so again, I talked about all the different ways that an admin can provide for their students or the licenses. Email does not have to be one of them. So if you get an Office 365 account, it could look like an email address. It could look like frankchi@myschool.edu, but it actually doesn't have email attached to it. It could be that you just use that account name and log in, and all you have is Office Online. You do not have to give any of the other services that you don't want to. Now I remember why Veronica couldn't find accessibility, because I have actually another persona that I need to use. So I'm actually going to switch over into this persona. So I apologize for that. This is what happens when you try to demo many things.
Frank, you do a lot of play acting in your work.
I do, that's right. And so now I'm going to stop being Veronica, sorry, and be Katie. So that's why Yammer wasn't working. That's why it wasn't set up. So Katie's going to log into Yammer. Katie is another teacher at Contoso Middle School. She has the same, see how I flawlessly and seamlessly just rolled right into my demo? She has the same need as I mentioned before. She has an accessibility student. So she's going to type accessibility in here. And this time, accessibility is going to show up, and so she's going to search for accessibility within Yammer. And she sees that this other teacher, Ann Wallace, has actually created a group called Teaching Students with Vision, Hearing, or Physical Impairments. So Katie's going to go to that group. She's going to start to follow that group, and so that she can have this information. Notice here that Elwood Eskridge was asking the same question just about a couple of months ago about finding some documents around teaching students with accessibility needs. And in fact, there's a little video that's attached right in here as well from the Washington State School for the Blind that if Katie wanted to watch, she could watch. That's an example of attaching content into Yammer. But Katie wants to actually look for something different, and she sees down here that Ken Meyer responded that Tony Cridgen actually is an expert on accessibility. So Katie is very excited about this. So she's going to email Tony and set up a meeting so that she can talk to Tony. So she goes to her email and she creates a new email. And she's going to type a quick note to Tony to say, hey, I'd love to meet with you and talk to you. So she types Tony. Notice that the autofill saw that Tony is in the gal, so they put that in there. And then she starts writing a note to Tony. Dear Tony. And as she's writing, she notices that there's this out of office message, right? And it says, hey, I'm off for the next few months because as it works out, Tony is off sailing around the world. He's earned a sabbatical from teaching and now he's out exploring the world. So Tony is not available, and so Katie is a little disheartened and she thinks, oh my gosh, I've run into a dead end. But it says here, hey, if you're looking for resources for me, search on Delve. So Katie is inspired once again. She goes back to her home screen. Actually, I'm going to show you a different way of getting into Delve. So right here from within her inbox, she starts her launch apper by clicking up here, and she goes over to Delve. And again, the number of tiles up there depends on how many services you've been provided from your school. So it could be super simple. I'm going to keep pounding that theory, that theme. And so now we come into Delve. So let me take a step back and explain what Delve is. Delve is really a way to surface content and people right at your fingertips. So what it does is on the back end, using technology, Delve takes a look at all your connection points between people and content and then starts to connect the dots, if you will, and map them together and presents them in a way that's important to you. And so you have several different views within this Office 365 experience. You can look at your home screen, the Delve home screen, which has a bunch of content in there. You can look at just my work. So here's all Katie's documents that she's working on, including videos, including PowerPoints. It doesn't really matter where the content is. It brings it all into Delve. And it also, she can take a look at content that is just shared with her. Now, each of these tiles on here, these squares, are its own little pieces of information about that content, what the content type is, where it's located, email the user, who it's shared with. how many views this piece of content has had, and it also you can add it to a board. Now, what's a board? Well, we have a science board here, which shows that all of this content tagged with science shows up on the science board so that you can find this content within this board very easily. So this is basically Delve and how it brings content that's important to you right to the surface. It also says that you can search by people, and here's Tony right here. Now, Tony is a prolific creator of content. So he's got a lot of content on his page. And really what we want to find from Tony is that accessibility piece, right? So we search accessibility. Now I want to point out, as Katie types in accessibility, not only does she get results returning back from what's in the title of the page, but also with what's embedded inside the content itself. So Katie is getting a rich set of results around accessibility. And as a matter of fact, right here in the upper left-hand corner is the very document that she was looking for, that Tony was talking about. And so she can open up PowerPoint and get that document right within PowerPoint Online. And so now what you're seeing here is actually a preview mode of PowerPoint Online, that you can view this whether you actually have PowerPoint or not. Anybody can view this. So using Yammer and not really knowing where to go, Katie searched for accessibility, found that there was a group she could belong to, and she started following that group, and then so she can interact with them as she gets more and more familiar with teaching students with accessibility needs. She found an expert, a subject matter expert. She connected with that subject matter expert even though he's off sailing the world, and she got a document that that she could use. So all of this, in just a matter of minutes, through Yammer and Delve.
Frank, it certainly seems like it's a neat system here. I love how it's colorful, and the fact, as you said, that this is all being built for not only desktops, but for mobile devices, really does bring the possibilities of working with, a one-to-one environment, a BYOD environment. You really can get the sense that Microsoft 365 is for any school that wants to hook up into the digital age. Remind us again, if you go over to office.com/education, let me bring up the website here, you can have your school sign up for a free trial, and you said the free trial was, I believe it was 25 students?
Yeah, 20. You can set up a free trial for 30 days, and you are absolutely right. Office.com/education, and you'll get 25 teacher licenses, 25 student licenses for you to try for 30 days. But anytime during those 30 days, you can actually validate that you are a education institution using your domain name. So if you have a .edu, and in that case it's automated, you can instantly get more licenses for your entire school. So you could set up and get up and running in Office 365 in just a matter of minutes, and I've actually done it several times, where at least into the trial, and then moving forward from there.
And this, of course, there's no problem if you're setting up a school district with 20 kids or 20,000 kids. Microsoft 365 can hold all this.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We actually have ministries of education around the world that have Office 365 tenants, is what we call them, with millions of students in them. So Office 365 is built to scale. Once you're validated as an education institution, it's pretty much an all-you-can-eat buffet in terms of licenses that you can provide for your teachers and students, and that unlocks all of those things that I showed you, from email to OneDrive to Office Online documents to Yammer and Delve and all the richness of Office 365.
Frank, we have a few minutes here. I want to see if I can poll everybody here for any questions, but could you talk to us briefly about the new features coming up in Office for Mac? I was so excited when I heard that the preview was out. I didn't have a chance to download it yet. That's one of the things I'm going to do this week. But what can the Mac community expect from Office?
Well, it's the first time in a while that that we've updated Office for Mac, and so we're very excited to be bringing that to folks. The preview is available. It's available for free today, so anybody with a Mac can go and download Office for Mac, and it's across Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and OneNote are the applications for it. It really is Office as you know it and you're familiar with. All the things I showed with Excel with the familiar ribbon, but it's thoughtfully designed for the Mac. And so if you're in PowerPoint, you can or in Word, you can change the themes and change the font colors and all the things very easily, all within the interface. There's a great video on our website that you can look at. Like I said, the preview is free for everybody to use, so you could just jump in, get a new Office for Mac onto your Mac, and start exploring today.
I certainly know that's one of those things I'm looking forward to using. I've been using Office. Was it 09 was the previous version, or was it 11?
I think it was 10.
10
maybe.
Like
that. Yeah, but yeah, I think it was 10.
It's a fantastic thing, and the thing I like about that is even now Microsoft is still putting out updates and security updates and things. There isn't a time that I open it up or there isn't something new coming up for that. So if you have a chance to download Office for Mac today, please do. Frank, we have hit 8 o'clock, and I want to say thank you so much. And not only please come back, but please come back and share off some of the new things that are happening with the Office 365 team. Before we do our sign out, I want to bring Chris and Sam back in here. Are there any last questions that you're seeing from the chat room, guys, or any questions that you're seeing from those over at teachercast.tv?
In the chat room, we saw that people were very impressed with the spreadsheet functionality of the online version of Excel, and they were looking for a little bit more information as far as what is the capability as far as Visual Basic in that online version of Excel.
Yeah, I'm afraid I can't answer that one. I'll have to do that one in my next podcast with you guys.
So
excellent.
So let me make sure that we get this right. When you go to the store and you are purchasing Office, are you getting a disk to download into your machine, or are you just simply getting a code and Office is now completely web-based?
So Office 365 is digital based, and it's a digital download. So whether you sign up through our website with Office 365 or you go to the store and you're buying Office 365 and one of our consumer products, as long as it says Office 365, it's actually a digital download code which allows you to install it on up to 5 devices. So when you see that 365 on there, that means it's an online service version of Office, and you can install it on up to 5 devices and get your Office content across all your devices.
And let's say that I live in a house where mom and dad have a subscription or get me Office 365, and then my school is using it. Can that same code work for both, or do I have to? Is it like a school account and then a regular account, or how?
You sign in with Office using your Office 365 ID. So even if you have a version of Office 365 already, you could sign in with multiple users. In fact, on my Office at work, I sign in with both my consumer Microsoft account, which gets me to my personal OneDrive, and I also sign in with my Microsoft ID, which allows me to access my work documents. So you can actually have multiple users signed into Office. You just sign in with that specific name. So for students and teachers out there, when they get an Office 365 identity from their school with their email domain extension on it, that's what they would use to sign into Office. You do the same thing with the iPad apps. If you're using an iPad, you sign in with that school identity from Office 365, and it allows you to access your documents from the iPad apps.
You know, Frank, I would love to invite you back on this show. Maybe we can do a whole session on those iPad apps and how students can use the iPad apps in correlation with Office 365, especially when we have a lot of teachers out here watching that are in mobile classrooms, one-to-one, BYOD classrooms. I would love to have you come on and do a demo of some of those great mobile apps.
There's so much more I didn't even touch upon. So there's the Office for iPad apps. There's also the Android apps. We are really proud of our cross-platform capabilities, and I'll be happy to demonstrate some of those at another time.
Excellent. We will look forward to having you on. Gentlemen, week 3 of Microsoft March is down the drains here, and talk to us a little bit about what's going on here. Next week, we have March 22nd coming up. We are having Microsoft OneNote coming on. Then we're actually going to be doing a show with the Surface team, which we're really, really looking forward to. So lots more coming up from Microsoft. Chris, we didn't get a chance to say hello to you. You recently put out some pretty good podcasts. Talk to us about your latest episode that came out.
The latest episode, I spoke with a fantastic educator, and due to the spontaneity of that question and a long week, the answer escapes me.
Let me get that answer for you quickly. Sam, how about yourself? What are you doing recently with the EduPuppets?
Well, we are in the depths of conference season. So in the last week, I presented, I think, 7 times at a total of 3 venues. And this coming week, I'm going to be presenting 4 times in Palm Springs, and we'll be talking about everything from one-to-one programs to the importance of creativity and imagination in teaching and learning to how to make puppets.
Nice. And speaking of podcasts, we are now on episode 3 of the great series that's coming out right now, Educational Podcasting. Today, our latest episode, of course, is talking all about how to take Windows, that wonderful Windows environment, and podcast using programs like Audacity, and also doing using your Office 365 for that. Chris, your latest episode was with Katrina.
Yes, Katrina Keene. She's a technology consultant and director of innovation for Canterbury Schools in Florida. She was my last episode, and we talked all about the great things that she's doing in Florida and her approach to technology integration. And then obviously being a bi-weekly show, there's nothing released today, but next week I'm releasing my 2nd annual House of EdTech Final 4, where I will speak all about 4 awesome apps and tools that teachers can use, one of which is Microsoft related, but I can't tip my hand as to which one made the Final 4.
Is it Microsoft Access?
It's got to be Sway.
Oh.
No, it's Sway. It's got to be Sway.
Sway?
It's got to be Sway.
Is it Sway? Is it OneNote?
Fill your brackets out now and see how you turn out next week.
Ooh, MrNesi.com. Ladies and gentlemen, right after our show, we are going to be putting the link out to the brand new episode of the 30-Second Take podcast. It's been in hibernation a little bit, but we are so proud that Brad is back with us this year, and he is going to be giving us his March Madness. So if you are out there watching us on teachercast.tv, the link is coming very quickly into our chat room. On behalf of everybody here on the Tech Educator Podcast, thank you so much for watching. Once again, thank you to Microsoft for sharing time with us right here on the Tech Educator Podcast. Thank you so much, everybody, and continue sharing your passions with your students.